Meet Kesh. He will live his entire life in a world almost exactly like ours, with one single difference. His people never learn to make fire. No cooking, no warmth, no light once the sun goes down. It sounds like a small thing to go without, but it is quietly the one thing that separates us from absolutely everything we ever became. To really understand what fire gave us, you have to take it away, and then watch what happens to one ordinary human life without it. No history books, no big numbers, just one man. So let's follow Kesh, from his very first breath to his very last, in a world that stayed dark and cold forever. The morning Kesh is born, there is no warm hearth waiting to greet him. Just furs, breath, and bodies pressed close together for heat. In a world without fire, the very young and the very old are always the first to die, because simply staying warm becomes a full-time job that never truly ends. His mother will carry several children. Watch them come. 1, then 2, then 3. In our world, most of them would grow up healthy. Here, with no fire to boil clean water or warm a fevered child through a freezing night, perhaps only one of them ever reaches adulthood at all. Kesh is the lucky one. As a boy, Kesh learns everything in a desperate hurry, and he learns all of it in daylight. How to nap a stone, how to read a track in the mud, how to go completely still when something large moves in the grass. There are no lazy evenings by the fire to be taught slowly. If the sun is up, you learn. If it is down, you hide. He grows up eating everything raw. Raw meat, raw roots, raw fish scraped straight off cold bone. His jaw grows heavier than yours, his teeth wear down far faster, and his gut runs longer inside him, because raw food is brutal, grinding, exhausting work to digest. And he is always a little bit cold. Not quite freezing to death, just never even once truly warm. His body has to burn a huge share of every single meal simply to hold its own temperature against the endless, patient chill of the air pressing in around him. Picture just one of his mornings. He wakes stiff and shivering in the gray half-light, gnaws a few mouthfuls of cold, tough meat left over from yesterday, and forces his aching body to move before the cold can win. No warm drink, no hot meal, no small comfort of any kind waiting to start the day. There never has been, and there never will be. Here is the hidden cost buried inside all that raw meat. Cooking is really just a way of digesting a meal before you ever put it in your mouth. It unlocks energy that your body simply cannot reach on its own. Without it, Kesh has to eat for hours and hours every single day, like a gorilla, just to break even. And that endless eating leaves almost nothing left over. A cooked meal can afford to feed a big, hungry, expensive brain. A raw one can barely keep the lights on. Kesh is sharp and quick and brave, but his people simply carry far less spare fuel for the slow, patient, daydreaming kind of thinking that quietly invents brand new things. There is something else that fire quietly gives us, something we almost never think about. The evening. A safe, warm circle of light where people sit together and talk, and remember, and pass stories down to the young. Kesh never has that. When the light dies, everyone falls silent and still. A huge part of being human simply never gets invented, but the real enemy still arrives every single evening, right on schedule. The sun goes down, and for Kesh, the world simply ends. There is no flame to push the darkness back, no warm circle to gather inside. Night is not cozy here. Night is when you go completely blind and wait and pray for morning. Because he cannot work after dark, absolutely everything has to happen in daylight, and his tools stay painfully, permanently simple. A stone, a spear, a scraper of bone. Without fire, he cannot harden a spear tip, cannot bend wood with heat, cannot melt or bake or fire anything into something genuinely new. For shelter, Kesh takes a cave, but a cold and dripping one. In our own real history, fire is exactly what let humans live inside caves at all. It dried the damp air, it scared the animals back out, and it turned a wet hole in the rock into a home. His cave is only ever a dark box that keeps a little of the wind off, and he shares that darkness with things that can see inside it far, far better than he ever will. wolves, big cats. A fire is a wall that almost no predator on Earth will willingly cross. Without one, every single night becomes a gamble with his own life. And Kesh sleeps with one hand always wrapped tight around his spear. Getting food is its own daily war. He cannot drive game with fire, cannot smoke meat to save it for later, so every hunt is all or nothing. A kill must be eaten fast before it rots, or before something stronger smells the blood and comes to take it, and him along with it. Now pull back from Kesh and look at his whole people at once. Without fire, they can never leave the warm places of the earth. Every winter is a possible death sentence, so the cold north, the high mountains, the frozen coasts, all of it stays completely empty of human beings, maybe forever. In our timeline, fire is the passport that let humans walk right out of Africa and slowly conquer a freezing planet. Take it away, and our whole species stays penned inside one narrow, warm band, a small, thin, scattered people, always just one bad winter away from vanishing off the earth entirely. Sickness follows them everywhere they go. No boiling means no clean water, ever. No cooking means parasites hiding inside nearly every meal. The simple trick we use without a second thought, a clay pot of water held over a flame, just does not exist for them. Kesh's people are tough beyond belief, but they are sick in ways we would find completely unbearable. And then, every single year, winter comes for them like a debt collector. In our world, fire is what turns the deadliest months into something a person can simply sit out. For Kesh's people, winter is just the season when some of them quietly do not make it to spring, and everyone knows it, in their bones long before the first snow ever falls. But here's the part that reaches the very furthest of all. No fire means no real farming, because you cannot clear the land by burning it back, and you cannot cook wild grain into anything worth storing. And no stored food in turn means no villages, no cities, no ever putting the endless daily hunt behind you. It also means no pottery to carry water in, no baked brick to build a wall with, no kiln, no forge, no smelting of anything at all. Every metal you have ever touched, copper, bronze, iron, steel, every last one of them is born inside fire. In Kesh's world, humanity never once escapes the Stone Age. It simply, physically, cannot. And no metal means no plow, no wheel worth the trouble, no engine, no wire, no glowing screen in anyone's hand. The entire staircase that we climbed, from a simple flickering campfire all the way up to rockets, never gets its very first step. It all began with one tamed flame, and in Kesh's world that flame never once came, and knowledge itself never gets a chance to pile up. With no light after dusk, there are no long nights to teach, to carve, to paint, to plan the future. Each new generation learns only what it can cram into the daylight hours and forgets almost as fast. Without fire, human memory has nowhere warm to gather and grow, so it simply stays small and stays still. And Kesh himself? He grows old frighteningly fast. By 40, his joints are wrecked, most of his teeth are simply gone, and his eyes are already failing in a world that was always half dark to begin with. He has spent his entire life cold, hungry, and afraid of the dark. The three great problems that fire quietly solved for the rest of us. When Kesh finally dies, his people bury him and quietly move on, exactly as their ancestors did 10,000 years before him, and exactly as their descendants will do 10,000 years after. Nothing changes. Nothing ever builds on anything. Without fire, time inside the human story just quietly stops moving forward. Because fire was never really about the heat. Fire was our very first machine. It was the first time we ever took something wild and dangerous in the world and made it quietly do our work for us. Cooking, warmth, safety, metal, glass, engines, rockets, every single one of them is just a more careful version of that first tamed flame. Almost everything you love was born from that one flame. A hot meal shared with people you care about. A warm room on a bitter night. A light to read by. A story told late into the dark. A cup of something warm held in cold hands. Kesh had none of it. Not one single time in his entire life. So, the next time you flick a lighter, or your stove clicks on without you even glancing at it, spare one single thought for Kesh. That one small, ordinary, glowing ember is the entire distance between his frozen, silent world and the bright, humming, restless one that you get to live in. Here's the question I honestly cannot shake. Was fire a lucky accident that only ever needed to happen one single time in all of history? Or was it always going to happen sooner or later for a curious species like ours? Tell me what you truly think down in the comments. And be honest with yourself, would you survive even one night in Kesh's world